السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله, alhamdulillah, والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن بعد. You know, clearly Islamic Center is not far away from NASA, but Kahari made it sound exactly like NASA. 10, 9, 8, 7. I felt like I'm launching a rocket, not a class. But anyway, thank you, Kahari. Anyway, it's funny, they were so proud of that rocket, the Emirates, the United Arab Emirates, that the count was in Arabic. 10, 9. I'm like, this is like an accomplishment that it counts in Arabic. I said, I guess but the rockets and everything else is not made in Arab country or Muslim country. Anyway, at least one step closer, huh? Today we will continue our class explaining the book of Al-Zuhd. We're about to finish that chapter very soon, inshallah ta'ala. Last week we talked about Hadith al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the famous Hadith of Abu Hurairah, min husni Islam al-mar tarkuhu ma la ya'ni. A sign of a man's good observance of Islam, his piety, is to keep away from that which it doesn't concern him or her. And I just have one point that I would like to add to what we discussed last week, and I think it's important. Sometimes this hadith is used to tell people, what's your business? You know, when you give somebody's advice, or you tell someone, you know, this is not right, this is not correct, it's not of your business. You know, among the good sign of good Islam, observance of Islam, is to not have concern of the matter that doesn't concern you. So, you know, don't involve yourself in my business. This is my business. You tell him, hey, this deal is not allowed. This to give nasiha, he says it's not your business. That's hadith is not about that. Deen nasiha. Deen is an advising. We as Muslims been asked to advise one another. And it's not a good manner actually to see someone doing something wrong and not to advise them. Advise, it shows sincerity. So I hope this hadith will never be misused to stop people from advising one another or ordering people or encouraging people to do what is good and forbade them from what is evil. This is something and the hadith is something else. And we explain what the hadith is about the thing of it's not your concern because it's personal matters and things of that nature. And we talked a lot last week about this, these meanings or what the hadith meant. The hadith of today, hadith al-Miqdad ibn Ma'idi Yakrib radiyallahu anhu, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما ملأ ابن آدم وعاء شرا من بطنه أخرجه الترمذي وحسنه. المقداد ابن Ma'id Yakrib narrated that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a human being has never filled any vessel which is worse than his own belly, reported by At-Tirmidhi, who graded it to be hadithun hasan. أخرجه الترمذي وحسنه. Usually I like to comment on any name of a companion that is not very famous, like Al-Miqdad ibn Ma'di Yakrib, Al-Miqdad ibn Ma'di Karib also, Al-Kindi is a great companion. He became Muslim in a very young age when he came from Yemen with the delegate that came from Kinda. Kinda is a tribe in the southern of the Arab Peninsula in Yemen. They were 80 men and he became Muslim at that time. Later on he lived in Asham in Syria and he narrated, we have documented 40 hadith from Al-Miqdad radiyallahu anhu ardah. Al-Bukhari reported only one hadith for him in Sahih al-Bukhari. He said al-hadith reported by At-Tirmidhi And if you look at the full narration, this is just part of the narration. Ibn Hajar took part of the hadith. What's the full hadith? بِحَسْبِ ابْنِ آدَمْ أَكَلَاتٍ يُقِمْنَ صُبْلْبَهُ. It's sufficient for the son of Adam to eat little, and what is sufficient for him or her to keep his strength. فإن كان لا محالة, and if you have to eat more than the minimum, so the recommendation is to eat the minimum, whatever can keep your strength, can keep you standing, can keep you function, just the minimum. But if you want to go beyond the minimum, okay, then فَثُلُثٌ لِطَعَامِهِ. The Prophet said 1/3 for your food. وَثُلُثٌ لِشَرَابِهِ. 1/3 of your stomach should be filled with water. Okay? And وَثُلُثُ النَّفْسِ, and you keep 1/3 empty. So that means you don't eat more than 1/3, or you don't fill more than 1/3 of your stomach with food, and the other third should be drinking water or liquid. And it's interesting, if you compare the amount of water that you drink to the amount of food, you know, if they are equal, that's a good thing. There is, in some of the copies of Tirmidhi, it says Hasanun Sahih. This hadith is Hasan Sahih. And some said Hasan only, some of the copies said Hasan. Al-Mizzi rahimahullah fi al-Tuhfa قال, and Tirmidhi said Hasan only, the way Ibn Hajar rahimahullah mentioned it here. I think the biggest debate over this hadith will be why he didn't grade it as Sahih, because Yahya ibn Jabir, who narrated this from Al-Miqdam ibn Ma'di Yakrib, did he meet him or did he hear from him directly? You know, did he hear that hadith directly from him or not? Because some people said that he never met him. He never heard this hadith directly from him. But Imam Ahmad rahimahullah and Al-Nasa'i reported the same hadith with the isnad where Yahya ibn Jabir, he clearly stated that he heard that from Al-Miqdam, which is make the hadith in this case acceptable. Anyway, vessel or wi'a, a container, the thing that you filled it up with food usually, or you fill it up with mainly food, this vessel or this container, there is nothing, the worst thing to be filled is the container is basically your stomach, and to fill it up with food. That would be the worst type of, you know, that will be has never, as the Prophet, a human never has filled any vessel which is worse than his own belly. So that's the worst thing you can fill, or you can fill it up. So whenever you say, I'm hungry, I'm going to fill it up, that's not something good. It's just not, it's the worst thing that you can fill it up, is your own stomach. طيب شرا من بطنه. Why worst or more evil than your own stomach? Here the Prophet ﷺ is saying this because it hurt. It will be harmful to you. And in the hadith, he said, أكلات لقيمات. يعني eat a little bit that is enough for you to keep you going, to keep your strength. So that means you don't eat too much, you eat little. What this hadith has to do with the concept of zuhd. You remember, a zuhd is to leave what it will not benefit you in the akhirah. A lot of time, especially in the old days, food means money, means working, means some people will do business which is not halal, or will waste so much time and effort and all about food, and it will not benefit them in the akhirah. And I can say not all the days, in the modern days, the amount of time that we waste on food is unbelievable. You know, sometimes in the line you stay for 40 minutes just to get your meal. You know, that day I went and ordered food and I stayed outside on the curb about 45 minutes just for the food to be delivered to my car. So the amount, is this going to benefit me in the akhirah? See, the whole zuhd, the whole concept of zuhd is you leave what will not benefit you in the akhirah. I'm not talking even about the amount of time that you spend in eating too much. You know, 7-course meal. And you know, you eat one course, then a second course, a third course, and so forth. Sometimes you waste so much time, you waste so much money, you waste so much energy in things that will not benefit you much in the akhirah. And actually, sometimes eating too much can be the reason for you to be sleepy, tired, unhealthy, and it harm your akhirah and harm your dunya as well. So that's why the hadith came. And no doubt that reducing the amount of food that you consume has a real impact on spirituality, has a real impact on those who constantly, that's why fasting, it raises your spirituality. But those who eat little, you know, that's a common thing you see among the ulama, rahimahullah ta'ala, that not known to be eating too much. And we'll talk more about some of the fawaid of this hadith, the thing that we learn from this hadith. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah said something interesting. قال هذا الحديث أصل جامع للصحة والطب. This hadith can be a very fundamental hadith in relation to your well-beings and your health. He said, لما قرأ ابن مساويه, which is a very famous doctor in the old days, I think he was during the Abbasi dynasty time. قال لو استعمل الناس هذه الكلمات لسلموا من الأمراض والأسقام. If people will follow this advice from the Prophet ﷺ, they will free themselves from so many of diseases and sickness. And Al-Harith ibn Kildah, who is the most known Arab doctors among the Arabians and the Arab Peninsula, have a very famous statement that he said in regard to prevention and regarding to good health. He said, Al-Himyatu Ra'su Dawa. The best medicine is to avoid too much eating, or to avoid eating either too much or certain type of food. Al-Himya is basically controlling your appetite. Is the best medicine, the best cure. قال والبطنة رأس الداء. And overweight is the source of all diseases. That's someone who said that before the Prophet ﷺ time. It is a very famous Arab doctor. And also it was said, Al-Ma'idah Baytud Da'. The house, it's a metaphor, but literally it means the house of disease, where all disease gather, is the stomach. Eating too much basically causes so much problems. And no doubt we know that today obesity is a source of so many diseases that can kill you slowly. في هذا الحديث, this hadith is the Prophet ﷺ criticized, and the Prophet ﷺ showed that eating too much and filling up your stomach with food is not a good thing. I'm saying this, and by the way, this has not to do with being skinny or fat or big or small, because I've been seeing people who are very skinny too. They eat too much. Like a little kid that day, ordering, a Big Mac with the big fries, with a large. I was wondering, I'm halfway there, I'm full, but I have to finish it. Come on, it just is interesting. Remember, Nabi Sallallahu said that nothing worse, you can fill it up more than your stomach. To fill it up all the way, like you can't even breathe. في الصحيحين نافع said كان ابن عمر لا يأكل طعاما حتى يؤتي بمساكين يأكل معه. قال فأدخلت رجلا يأكل معه فأكل كثيرا فقال ابن عمر يا نافع لا تدخل علي هذا. Nafi said Ibn Umar, whenever he eats, he asks his servants to bring anyone go outside. If you see someone wants to eat or miskin or poor, invite him to eat with me. He rarely eat by himself. He always eat with people who are poor and needy and homeless basically. In modern days can be said as well. He will bring them in and he will eat with them. You know who's like that? Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah. Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah, I would claim that in the last 35 years of his life, he never had a meal, lunch or dinner by himself. For the 35 years, lunch for sure, always with public. Student of knowledge and people. And I remember the first time I ever met Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah, it was over lunch. And it was in his house. And I still remember the people who were sitting in the gathering. One of them was a janitor who cleaned the streets with his, clothes, and he was sitting and eating with us. Anyway, so a man came and he kept eating too much. So Ibn Umar said to Nafi, don't bring this guy again. Not because he eats a lot, no. He said, because I heard the Prophet ﷺ said, المؤمن يأكل في معي واحد والكافر يأكل في سبعة أمعاء. Al-mu'min has one stomach, while the kafir has 7. What that means? It means al-mu'min doesn't eat too much, just consuming so much and so fast, like that. That's why when you see someone eat like just stuffing the food one after another, especially in the kids, we watch this. This is not the akhlaq of the mu'mineen. That's not the attitude of the believers. Muslim ما عنده الشره الموجود عند الكافر. And the mu'min has the barakah in the food. That's why he didn't like this man to come into his house, because he have the attitude of the disbelievers, as if there is nothing bless him, or no food is blessed when he consume it. الإمام أحمد رحمه الله قال قيل لأحد هل يجد الرجل رقة في قلبه وهو يشبع؟ قال ما أرى. Can your heart be soft while you're always filling your stomach? He said, I don't think so. If you fill up your stomach, I don't see how your heart can be soft. Filling up your stomach will make you lazy to pray, to wake up in the night to pray, make you, sleepy, very hard to, to be active. That's why Imam Nawawi rahimahullah said, he said, this type of food, I never eat it. They said, why? He said, when I eat it, make me sleepy. It's too heavy. So I'm avoiding it. Luqman once said to his son, يا بني إذا امتلأت المعدة نامت الفكرة وخرست الحكمة. He said, whenever you fill your ma'idah, your stomach, your intellect go to sleep. Your brain go to sleep. And the wisdom will be deaf. You can't speak word of wisdom anymore. And your limbs will be so heavy to practice salah and to do the act of worship. Also this hadith, one of the benefits of hadith, telling you that you should eat 1/3. You fill your 1/3 of your stomach with food. Okay? That's the maximum. It should be less than that. But that's the maximum you can do. Kahari, there is this guy was eating with us dinner. And mashallah, he eats so much. He eats so much. So one of the brother once told him, Ya Habibi, Nabi Sallallahu said, 1/3 for your food, 1/3 for water, 1/3 for breathing. MashaAllah, you eating so much. He said, Habibi, my third is not like your third. My third is like way bigger than your third. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, the point is, yeah, your third can be filled up with a bowl of salad, you know. My third is like 2 large steaks. But the point is just, you know, one of nutritionists once told me, whenever you have a plate, okay, you divide your plate. Put half of the plate salad, green, and the other half of the other half protein, and the half of the other half carbs. And that's how you eat. So I start practicing that, but with a little bit of adjustment. I start eating the carbs, and every time I finish the carbs, I refill the carbs. And I keep the other quarter and that's green salad on the plates. Anyway, no, I'm just joking with you guys. So the point is 1/3 you keep it for food, 1/3 for breathing, and that's interesting how Nabi Sallallahu talk about 1/3 for drinking, for water. Because I noticed a lot of people advise, if you want to lose weight, drink a lot of water. Drink a lot, especially in these summer days we're in Texas, we need a lot of drinking. Also, Al-Ulama rahimahullah said, one of the things about filling up your stomach, when you fill up your stomach with a lot of food, your lust becomes strong. They said your anger, even your sexual lust is strong. And one of the reasons why you fast, because it controls your sexual lust. So that's one of the things that we worry about when somebody eating too much. Okay, where is this energy going to go? Like, can I see a young man is not a single man, is not married, and mashallah, he eats all this food that, you know, like give energy of a bowl. You know, mashallah, where is this going to go? Yani, unless he, you know, have a sports and gym and stuff like that, maybe. For hadith also, that you don't fill your stomach with what is, the hadith said, nothing worse. So that means you don't fill your stomach with things that will harm you. But you can fill your stomach with water, drink 1/3, air for breathe, 1/3 for, which is beneficial. So also that shows you that you should avoid the food that is not beneficial for you and harmful. In Nabi Sallallahu in this hadith, he's not forbidding and make it a sin for you to fill your stomach up, but it's something not recommended. هذا للكراهة. Because sometimes people eat until they fill their stomach. And it happened with the Prophet ﷺ in the story of Ahlul Suffah, when the Nabi ﷺ told Abu Hurairah, drink and drink, he from the milk, the buttermilk, or the milk, he drink. Then he said, Ya Rasulullah, every time he finished the Prophet, have more. Then he said, Ya Rasulullah, that's it, I can't consume anymore. I'm completely full. And also, another story, Abu Talha, when 80 of the companions came to the house of Abu Talha, and the Nabi Sallallahu made the dua, and Allah blessed that, you know, love of bread, and they kept eating from it, حتى شبعوا, until they were completely full. In Sahih al-Bukhari. So, but that happened occasionally. But the common practice should not, you should not eat until you completely full. Somebody told me a long time ago, don't wait until you become too hungry to eat. And when you eat, don't eat until you become too full. لا تأكل حتى تجوع ولا وحينما تأكل لا تأكل حتى تمتلئ. And you don't wait until you become too hungry, then you eat. That's why the modern days they tell you, eat 5 times a day, but small portion. Don't fill up your stomach. This hadith shows you how the Sharia al-Islamiyya and the teaching of Muhammad ﷺ care about all aspects of life, about your health, about what you eat, the habit of your food. It's a way of life. And that's something so beautiful about our Sharia, about our religion, about the teaching of Muhammad ﷺ, that he cares about everything, even about your health and what kind of food that you consume. And all this what is beneficial for people. Obesity in the United States is a big problem. And I think this hadith is a great guidance for us. And we are part of the society. From 1999 to 2000, okay? Through 2017 to 2018, the obesity increased from 30% to 42%. Yani in 1999 to 2000, it was 30%. 17 to 18, it's 42.4%. Obesity-related conditions include heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and certain type of cancers that they are the leading causes of preventable premature death. The prevalence of obesity was 40% among young adults. That's scary. Age 20 to 39. Age 20 to 39. 40%. 44% among middle-aged adults from 40 to 59. 42% among older adults, 60 and older. 17% of US youth have obesity. And nearly one in three children and teenager, it's either overweight or have obesity. 1 in every 3. 6 to 8 years old with obesity are approximately 10 times more likely to become obese adult than those with a lower body mass index. So please, parents, don't tell the kids, oh, inshallah yakbar wa yatul. Inshallah, he will grow up and he will be tall and he will stretch out and all this fat will go away. Don't worry about her. Inshallah, she will grow up and she will be, all this will go in her height. No. That's, statistics saying here, actually 10 times more likely to stay obese. My mom used to say that when I was young, and I can prove it, it's wrong. Exactly. Stretch it this way, not necessarily to be that way. Who knows? طيب. A third of the children born in 2000 in this country will develop diabetes during their lifetime. 1/3. And in Houston is another level. One of the most obese cities in America because we have one of the best foods, actually, restaurant. But worldwide, obesity also has nearly tripled since 1975. In 2016, more than 1.9 billion adults, 18 years and older, were overweight. Of these, over 650 million were obese. 39% of adults, wow, 39% of adults age 18 years and over were overweight in 2016, and 13% were obese. Most of the world's populations live in countries where overweight and obesity kills more people than underweight. Yani the people who die from overweight more than the people who die from underweight. $38 million children under the age of 5 were overweight or obese in 2019. 38 million. Over 330 million children and teenagers age 5 to 19 were overweight or obese in 2016. Overweight refers to eating more calories than your body uses for energy. And your body doesn't want a reserved energy. People sometimes overeat for emotional or psychological reason, such as burden, anxiety, depression, stress. I understand that. I know of that. Signs that you have eaten too much. Ask yourself how you feel after eating. Are you uncomfortable and bloated? Stomach discomfort? Feeling, gassy? These are very clear signs of overeating. Frequent overeating may include binge eating disorder, BED. That's something that you need to ask for professional help, if that's the case. How to stop overeating. Eat your food slowly, chew, and they said count 20 times while you eat, to let your brain get the message that your stomach is full. Exchange large plates and glasses for smaller ones. Fill your plate with mostly low-calorie food, like what I said earlier. Eat your meals at the same time every day. Eating at different times or skipping meals may lead to overeating later in the day. Get rid of distractions while you are watching or playing. Know your trigger food. What's the food that trigger you and make you go crazy in eating? Don't ban all favorite food, because you curve it and you basically rebel against yourself. Avoid eating from containers. Don't take the jar of the peanut butter and eat. You just don't avoid eating from the container straight. Eat fiber-rich food, such as beans, vegetables, oats, fruits, can help keep your body feeling satisfied longer and reduce the urge of overweight. The Prophet ﷺ, the prophetic advice, 1/3 fill it with water. One study found that people who eat fiber-rich oatmeal for breakfast fuller and eat less at lunch than those who consumed cornflakes for breakfast. Okay? I tried that, it didn't work. Kahari? Somebody also told me protein help. So, is that how you like your eggs? Yeah. Huh? Scramble. I like my eggs in cake. That's the problem. Boil the eggs and eat them. But the problem, you like your eggs in the cake. That's where the problem goes. Anyway, dine with like-minded friends. Okay? Like people who think about their weight, who will encourage you, your wife. Message for wives, a message for husbands, a message for parents. Please don't be mean to your spouse if they overeat. Talk nicely to them. Be positive for your kids. Don't tell them you're fat, you're this, you're that, nobody's gonna marry you, you're gonna die. These message doesn't help. It actually gives the opposite results. The average American household, one of the things that help you also to not to overeat, don't eat outside much. The average American household spend $7,300 a year on food. of which 4,000 is spent on food at home, and 3,000 food from outside home. Almost 50%. Now that I'm in quarantine, I finally realize that my only true hobbies were shopping and eating outside. You know, so because I don't do that anymore. Eat a lot of apple. Eat a lot of fruits, I said earlier. You know, I was telling my my son that day, apple is very healthy. 1 apple a day, keep the doctor away. Then my son said, Baba, you know, an apple not only can keep the doctor away, can keep everyone away if it is hard enough. Because you hit somebody with it. Anyway, so going back to the point, I think this should help. Inshallah, there's some few points that I mentioned, and this is something we all should work on it, encourage each other to be moderate, and the point of the hadith to be moderate in this area, and this is something that I hope we be among those who say things, and we will do our best to follow it. Allahumma ameen. Thank you very much. We'll end here, inshallah. It's Maghrib time. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد